Yeah, so dear students, welcome to yet another online tutorial on principles of communication system. So far we have been discussing about noise and continuous wave modulation systems. So we have discussed about noise in DSBAC. We found the figure of merit to be equal to 1. And further, we discussed about noise in standard AM, which uses envelope detector, and there we found the figure of merit will always be less than 1. That will be, we have seen, it will be Ka square P divided by 1 plus Ka square P. That's what yesterday we have done, and we have even solved a problem that considering a single tone modulation system having a percentage modulation to be equal to 100, we found the figure of merit was one third, right? Which means it's one third of that of DSBSC. That is the price which we pay for the simplicity of the transmitter and receiver. So what we inferred is if you have to achieve same error performance, if using standard AM, if you have to achieve same error performance as that of DSBSC, we should transmit 3 times more power. So that was inference which we derived from that problem. Then after that we saw what is threshold effect. So whenever this carrier power to noise power ratio, it becomes very less compared to 1, what happens is this envelope detector will not be able to perform well. So in such cases, we won't be able to reliably reproduce the message signal at the demodulator end. Right, so that is called threshold effect. Right, that again we have seen. So in today's session, we'll be seeing the noise in FM receivers. So unlike amplitude modulation, in frequency modulation, the information lies in the phase of the carrier wave, right, the modulated signal, or in the zero crossings. Right, so because of that, right, whenever I'm discussing about noise, interference of noise, I have to see how noise affects the phase or instantaneous phase, or how noise affects the zero crossing, right? So because of that reason, this noise analysis in FM receiver is slightly more complicated compared to that of noise analysis those in AM, right? But even then, it's not rocket science. We have to use the concept of phases and maybe some basic principles of Fourier transform, right? Uh, so we will start with, so like any other system, right? If you have to analyze the noise in FM receiver, right? When I say FM receiver, we are using a discriminator, right? So we have studied, right, the use of discriminator, right? Frequency discriminator, or so this, if you remember, we have discussed this discriminator has a slope circuit and an envelope detector. The slope circuit we have seen, it is like a differentiator, right? So we have seen all those things. So maybe we'll straight away start with the system model, right, or noisy model of FM receiver, right? Maybe we can, right, start with discussing the noisy model of FM receiver. So we have studied about FM receiver. So noisy model of FM receiver is what we are trying to discuss now, right? So as usual, the FM signal we will represent it as S of t. This is our FM signal, right? And it will be contaminated with W of t. It is actually what additive white Gaussian noise, right? With power spectral density N0 by 2 as usual. And this FM signal, we'll assume it has a transmission bandwidth of actually what BT, right? We'll assume the FM signal has a transmission bandwidth of BT, which means the spectrum will be centered around FC, and it will span from FC minus BT by 2 to FC plus BT by 2 on both sides. So all those aspects are pretty much familiar for you people. Then what should be the next, right, block? As in the other receivers, we will have a band pass filter, right? We'll have a band pass filter, right? This band pass filter will allow the S of t, that is the frequencies present within S of t. So this much is BT and this much again is BT. So these frequencies only will be allowed by this band pass filter. So what will happen is, along with the S of t will be available as such, we are assuming all the significant components of S of t lies within BT. Right. So S of t, whatever is there at the input of BPF will be available as such. But this W of t, it will be bandpass filtered. You know, right? How to treat white noise when it is filtered by a ideal bandpass filter, right? So then what we are getting here is X of t as usual, right? X of t will be S of t plus N of t, right? Then what happens is this noise. So you can see FM signal in that carries information within the instantaneous phase or zero crossings, right? Its amplitude is supposed to be a constant. It should have a constant amplitude that equal to AC. But whenever we have this additive noise, right, getting interfered at this point, what will happen? There will be some fluctuation. So if you see, if you just plot a FM signal, it will be something like this, right? It is supposed to have same amplitude, but there should be phase variation. But whenever noise is getting added, there will be fluctuation in the amplitude. So that is not actually what we are not bothered about the envelope of an FM signal, right? We are interested only in zero crossings or instantaneous phase. So if at all there is some amplitude variations, what we can do is we can limit it. We can limit the amplitude deviation. So that's why in a noisy FM channel, always we'll be using actually what a limiter, right? This limiter, what it does is it will clip off the positive and negative part almost near to zero. So if this was the S of t, right? And now after this limiter, what we'll get is we'll get some square wave like this, right? What happened is this is clipped off at these almost near to zero. So that we are not interested in the amplitude variation. We are interested only in zero crossing. So that's why it's clipped off. So that is what a limiter does. So as there is a limiter, right? Whatever X of t is here, right? We are clipping off its envelope, or we are clipping off its like positive and negative parts almost near to zero. So we don't have to bother about the amplitude or envelope of X of t. We have to concentrate only on the phase, right? Phase of X of t. That's the advantage. Then we have this discriminator. We have discriminator. So we have seen this discriminator it in turn will have a slope circuit and an envelope detector within it, right? Then at the end we will have a baseband low pass filter, which will allow only the frequency content which is present in output, which will allow only the frequency content present in M of t, right? So maybe discriminator output we can call as V of t, right? And the output is Y of t. So this is our noisy model of FM receiver, right? Then this discriminator in turn, it has actually what a slope. Oh, I'll write here below. Yeah. So maybe with threading I'll go here, right? So this discriminator has a slope circuit followed by an envelope detector, right? So we have already seen, we have discussed in detail about the slope circuit. The slope circuit will have a purely imaginary transfer function, and the transfer function will be proposed linearly varying with respect to frequency, right? Will be linearly varying with respect to frequency, or in effect, it is nothing but actually what a differentiator, right? So its output will be if r angle theta of t is the input. So I have represented a sinusoid in phasor form. R is the magnitude and theta is the phase. If r angle theta of t is the input, the slope circuit, its output will be equal to what? 1 by 2 pi d by dt of theta of t, right? So the output of slope circuit will be 1 by 2 pi d by dt of theta of t. So we don't have to bother about this r. Why? Because there is a limiter right in front of our discriminator, which will clip off the envelope, right? So we have to bother only about the zero crossings or phase, right? So this will be output of slope circuit. So then we have this. So then if we can find envelope of this, right, an envelope detector, if this is passed through an envelope detector, if this is passed through envelope detector, so and only envelope of this will be available at the output. So whenever I say envelope, right, yeah, if it is a sinusoid or cosinusoid, you just imagine you are representing it in polar form, right? And the magnitude part will be its envelope. Envelope is nothing but what its amplitude variation. So that's how we can find out envelope. So that's what we are going to do now. Right? Similarly, we need to find out what is the input or channel SNR and what is the output SNR, and we have to find figure of merit, that is SNR output by SNR channel. That is what we have to do. And I've already mentioned in some of the textbook and some video lectures, when you see they have, instead of channel SNR, they are referring it to input SNR, but both are right. You can use interchangeably, but I would recommend you to use the term channel SNR, right? So now we will see what is our S of t, right? Our S of t is what is the standard expression for FM signal AC? I hope you remember cos 2 pi FCT, right? 2 pi FCT plus 2 pi KF integral 0 to T m of tau d tau, right? This is the standard expression for our FM signal, and it is a sinusoid. Of course, its phase is changing, right? Phase is changing linearly with respect to m of t, but we are, what will be power in S of t, right? Power in this S of t, right? If I write power of S of t, right? Power of S of t, right? It will be equal to AC square by 2. Whatever be the argument of this sinusoid, right? If it is a cosinusoid with um, peak value equal to AC, the average power delivered to a 1 ohm resistor will be equal to AC square by 2, right? So this is the power in S of t. Now we need to find what is the noise power. Okay, right? We need to find what is the noise power within message bandwidth, right? If message bandwidth is W, right? What is the noise power within message bandwidth? That is what we have to find. So that will be equal to N naught W. Noise power within message bandwidth will be equal to say N naught W. So what will be SNRC? We can directly find out SNR channel. SNR channel, it will be equal to AC square by 2 divided by N naught W. So that is AC square by 2 N naught W. So this is like one result which we will have to use at the end to evaluate the um, figure of merit, FOM, right? So now again we'll come back to this. So this S of t plus W of t is passed through BPF. So the output will be S of t plus N of t, right? But this N of t, it is a narrow band noise, right? N of t is a narrow band noise. We have seen in previous classes itself, the narrow band noise, it can be represented using its canonic form, right? What was the canonic form of N of t? It was N of t is equal to in phase component Ni of t cos 2 pi FCT minus Nq of t sine 2 pi FCT, right? So this is the canonical form, or same thing I can represent as maybe a polar form also, right? Same thing I can represent as polar form also. We'll see how to do that. Right now, we'll just analyze what is X of t. Right? That's what we are going to do. Right. So bandpass filter output X of t. That's what we are going to analyze. Right. So Now BPF output x of t is equal to s of t plus n of t, right? So this n of t, right, n of t you can represent it as n of t is equal to uh, ni of t cos 2 pi fct minus nq of t sine 2 pi fct, right? But the same thing can be, this is in canonical form, this is in canonical form, right? So the same thing can be represented in polar form as if r of t is the magnitude of this, right? R of t is the magnitude of this, r of t cos 2 pi fct, say, plus the phase, I'll write it as psi of t, right? Phase I'll write as psi of t, right? Now what will be this r of t in this case? This r of t we can relate it with this ni of t and nq of t. This r of t will be, we have seen yesterday, it will be square root of a square plus b square, where a will be this ni of t, b will be nq of t. So it will be, instead of square root, I'll be using actually what, to the power half. So it will be ni square of t plus nq square of t to the power half. That is root of quadrature component square plus in phase component square. That is the magnitude. And now can anyone tell me what will be the phase? What will be the phase psi of t? It will be tan inverse of b by a, right? Tan inverse of b by a. B is quadrature component, that is nq of t divided by ni of t. So this is psi. So we can represent n of t like this. It is in polar form, right? It's in polar form. Now what we have is s of t is equal to ac cos 2 pi fct plus, right, again s of t is ac cos, please take it down along with me only, 2 pi fct plus 2 pi k. If you have any doubt how this is 2 pi kf and all those stuffs, please refer our old videos, or else if you want you can actually what, stop me and rz m of tau d tau, right? So this is s of t. So similarly s of t also can be written as say this in, we can consider this entire thing as phase phi of t, right? So that's how we have defined fm, right? Phase instantaneous or any phase modulation scheme, what happens is instantaneous phase of the carrier will be varied according to what, m of t, right? So here what we are doing, instantaneous frequency is varied linearly, so phase will be varying actually what, as per integral of the message signal. So this term, if we represent it as phi of t, that is 2 pi kf into integral 0 to t m of tau d tau. If we represent it as phi of t, so we can write s of t as ac cos 2 pi fct plus phi of t, where phi of t is nothing but what, 2 pi kf integral 0 to t m of tau d tau, right? So this is what we have now. So we need to write expression for x of t now. X of t is n of t plus s of t plus r of t. So s of t can be represented like this, and n of t can be represented like this. Now we will use these two representations to write the expression for x of t, right? X of t is equal to s of t plus n of t. This s of t is nothing but what, ac cos 2 pi fct plus phi of t plus n of t is, we have mentioned the amplitude of n of t as r of t right? Then cos 2 pi fct plus the phase of n of t was psi of t, right? So r of t times cos 2 pi second, sorry, 2 pi fct plus psi of t, right? So this is our x of t. So now what we have to do, so as per the block diagram, what happens next is this x of t is being passed through a limiter, right? So what that, so if the x of t is like this, right? So there may be like amplitude variation also because of the noise interference. Actually, the amplitude would have been a constant at AC, but because of this noise, there can be amplitude variation also. But what we'll do is the limiter, right? Limiter, what it does is it will clip off this almost near to zero. It will clip off this almost near to zero, right? Almost near to zero, it will be clipped off. So what we'll be getting is we'll be getting almost square waves like this, but the zero crossings remains the same. So zero crossings, it should remain the same, right? That is where the information lies in, right? So it is clipped off. The phase or zero crossing remains the same, but the envelope is actually what clipped off, and we are getting almost, it's like a square pulse, right? With variable duty cycle, pulse train with variable duty cycle. So that's what we are getting. So this red one is the limiter output, right? So limiter, it's what happens is its envelope changes, but the phase, it remains the same. Its envelope changes, phase remains the same. So from now on, what we'll do is we won't consider what happens to the envelope. We'll concentrate only on the phase. So for that, it's easy for us to deal these things in terms of phasor, right? It's easy. So now this expression of x of t, right? This expression of x of t, what I want to do is I want to write it as r angle, say theta of t. This is how I should write. So I should, we are not bothered about this magnitude. Why? Because the limiter is placed. So magnitude as such does not carry any information. We are not interested in that. We are interested in this phase, right? We are interested in this phase. Within this phase, how the noise is actually what interfering with the actual s of t. That is what we are trying to see. For that, we need to go for phasor representation. So you can consider this as a phasor and this as another phasor, right? If you are considering 2 pi fct as a reference, right? So I'll just, so this is the complex plane, right? This is the complex plane, and this 2 pi fct, it is a reference, right? 2 pi fct is reference. Then the magnitude of this phasor is actually what? AC, and its phase is actually what? Plus phi of t from 2 pi fct. So I should measure plus phi of t from this reference. So this is reference, right? So plus phi of t means I should measure it in anti-clockwise sense. So I'm measuring plus phi of t. So see, this is that, right? So this angle is plus phi of t. All of you, please listen, right? This is going to be the difficult part in this, right? Extracting the phase information, right? It's not a big deal. What we are doing is a sinusoid we are representing in terms of phasor, right? So we have done this even for AM, but right again, so this is our, this magnitude is AC, and the angle is phi of t. This is a zero reference. 2 pi fct, we are considering it to be zero reference, right? Now we have to add, right, r of t cos 2 pi fct plus psi of t. This r of t is magnitude of this. So, and cos 2, and the angle of r of t is actually what? Plus psi of t with respect to our reference. Plus psi of t with respect to our reference means, right? So if this is r of t, right? If this is r of t, its angle will be actually what? Plus psi of t with respect to our reference. This is our r of t. So now we need to add these two phases. So normally how we'll add two phases or two vectors? So maybe I'll redraw the same thing here again, right? So we have say AC at an angle phi of t here, AC at an angle phi of t here, right? This is AC, right? Then say again, what I should do is the second vector, the tail of second vector, I should keep at head of the first vector, right? So if I draw a line which is parallel to our reference axis here, right? I can move a vector anywhere in a plane, right? I can move a vector anywhere in a plane, but I should not tilt it, right? If I keep orientation of that vector same, I can move it to any point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this vector, take this phasor and going to place it here, right? I'm going to take this and going to place it here, right? So I'm going to place it here. So this is r of t, this is r of t, and this angle will be psi of t. This angle will be equal to psi of t, and the resultant will be actually what I have to join the tail of first vector and head of the second vector, right? This is actually what triangular law of vector or phasor addition, right? So this will be the resultant. This will be our r angle theta of t. So when I say this is theta of t, this angle is theta of t. So now is it clear? This much is it clear? If it is not clear, there is no point in moving forward. So I'll give you some time, right? Maybe just see this and try to try if you can appreciate. If you have any doubt, please feel free to ask. Please do take it seriously. If you simply stare or if you simply if you are simply watching it, like you won't be able, it will be of no use. So you should write it down. Try to do it along with me. Right. So now in this point, in this phasor representation, do you have any doubt? Right. You have to type yes or no. If no doubt, clear. Okay. If it is clear, and for others, I need to hear from some more people. Right. I'm repeating. Right. If you are simply like keeping the monitor on and watching, I don't think it will be of any use, right? So okay, yeah, so now this is what we have. Now we are interested in this theta of t. So what will be this theta of t actually, right? Can anyone tell me what will be this theta of t? What will be theta of t? Theta of t will be phi of t plus this much, right? Phi of t plus this much. What will be this angle? I hope you are able to see, right? What will be this angle? How you will find out this angle? If you can find out what is that angle, then done, right? Anyhow, that is not equal to psi of t, right? That is not equal to psi of t, right? Now, if you extend this, if you extend this, maybe I'll just redraw it. I'm not drawing it in same. Right? So if you I'll draw it with different color at least, right? So this is our AC, right? This is our AC. If you extend this AC, it will go like this. This angle is phi of t, right? And this is the horizontal, right? Then this angle is phi of t, and if you see this is, if this is r of t, right? This entire angle is, right? This entire angle is psi of t, right? This entire angle is psi of t, and this angle is phi of t, right? So now what will be, this is phi of t, and this angle is psi of t. So now what will be this angle? Can anyone tell me? You can type it in. What will be this angle? Right, this is r. So our resultant is this, and we are interested in this angle, right? This, see, I don't know which is that angle. I'll call it some x, right? I'm interested in finding this angle. So before that, what will be this particular angle? If we can, will it be equal to psi of t minus phi of t? Will it be equal to psi of t minus phi of t? Maybe. Right, will it be equal to psi of t minus? You can just type in. You can just type in whether that, okay, yeah, Sherwin has given me, it will be psi of t minus phi of t, right? So now, if you, right, drop a perpendicular, oh, sorry, I should be using a, in here, right? So if you drop a perpendicular to this, right, and if you consider this much, right, if you consider this much, so you will get a right angle triangle here. You can see you will get a right angle triangle here, right? This will give you a right angle triangle, right? This will give you a right angle triangle. Now I'll consider only that right angle triangle, right? So that right angle triangle, only that part if I'm considering, right? This much is say AC, right? We don't know what is this, right? And we have again this much, right? And this is this is our resultant. This is a right, yeah. So this is a right angle triangle, and we have our R of t here, right? We have our R of t here, and we know what is this angle, right? This is R of t. This is R of t, and this angle, right, which I have marked in red, that is equal to psi of t minus phi of t. That angle is equal to psi of t minus phi of t. Right now, if this is R of t and this angle is psi of t minus phi of t, right, by a rectangular resolution of vector or by uh, Pythagoras theorem, what will be the horizontal projection of this vector? Right, if this angle, right, what will be horizontal projection? So if this angle is theta, if this is r, the horizontal projection is, you know, it is r cos theta, and vertical projection will be r sine theta, right? You know this by means of rectangular resolution, or if you are using Pythagoras theorem, whatever you can, right? So this side, so we know this much is AC, we don't know what is this length, right? And we don't know what is this length, right? And we need to find this angle, we need to find this angle, right? That is what we need to do. That is our x, we need to find this x. So this side will be, you can write R of t, right? So this side I'll write here, this will be equal to R of t cosine of angle between uh, this. So that will be cos of psi of t minus phi of t, right? And this will be R of t sine of psi of t minus phi of t. So we have these two. So we have a right angle triangle here, right? So we have the base and altitude, and this is the hypotenuse, right? So how to find this x? X will be nothing but what, tan inverse of opposite side by adjacent side, right? So this is, if you consider this right angle triangle with this angle x, right? So this is opposite side, and this is actually what, adjacent side. So x will be, we can find x is equal to tan inverse of opposite side by adjacent side, right? So that will be equal to, that is equal to tan inverse of opposite side is nothing but what, R of t sine psi of t minus phi of t divided by adjacent side is actually what, AC plus this much, right? This much is AC and this much is R of t cos psi of t, right? So it will be AC plus R of t cos psi of t minus phi of t, right? So this is that x. So if we have x, now we'll go back to our this diagram, right? So this theta of t will be nothing but what? Will be phi 1 of t plus this x, right? Theta of t will be phi 1 of t plus x, right? Is it clear till here? Right? Is it clear? I need acknowledgement. So is psi of t minus phi of t is equal to theta of t minus phi of t? 1 second, Shreyas. Psi of t minus phi of t. No, psi of t minus, right? So I'll tell Shreyas, for your question, this is psi of t. This much is psi of t, right? And this much is phi of t, right? And the angle is included here, right? It is, this angle is actually what? Psi of t minus phi of t. This angle is psi of t minus phi of t, but the theta of t minus phi of t is included here at this point. So those two angles are not same, right? So I understood your question, but those two angles are not same. That's why we need to find this x. That x is found as tan inverse of r of t sine psi of t minus theta of t, right? So I hope, right? So this is, even though it brings in some complicated expressions, right? It's quite straightforward if you follow the sequential steps, right? It is going to be uh, okay. It is going to be easy. So now I can write theta of t. Theta of t. This theta of t is nothing but what? The angle of actually what? X of t. It is nothing but what? Angle of x of t, right? Angle of x of t. So within this we have actually what? Message component as well as noise component, right? Within this we have message component as well as noise component. So we have to see this, how, up to what extent this angle is contaminated with noise. That is what we have to see, right? So this theta of t is equal to phi of t plus this tan inverse of r of t sine phi of t minus phi of t, all divided by AC plus r of t cos psi of t minus phi of t, right? So this is a theta of t. Now this theta of t, maybe we can simplify it further. You can see, right? If uh, carrier power is more compared to noise, right? So this much is carrier power, right? This much is carrier amplitude, and noise is actually what we can assume. It will be more or less most of the time it will be noise magnitude will be less compared to carrier magnitude, right? If we can assume carrier to noise ratio, right? So if we assume, so it's an assumption, right? It's an assumption. If carrier to noise ratio is much greater compared to 1, what we can do is, in denominator we have one AC plus something, r of t cosine of something. So this term we can actually what conveniently neglect. AC plus this will be all approximately equal to AC only, right? So that one modification we are doing. So these assumptions you should, right, apply. Otherwise you won't be able to solve it. It will keep on getting complicated, right, until we apply these assumptions, right? So we are assuming the carrier to noise ratio. When I say carrier to noise ratio, carrier power is very large compared to noise power, or carrier amplitude is much large compared to the noise amplitude. R of t is actually what? Noise magnitude, right? And so we can rewrite it. So we can approximate theta of t, and theta of t is approximately equal to phi of t plus tan inverse of this r of t. Numerator remains the same, r of t sine psi of t minus phi of t, right, divided by AC. We can write this by AC, right? And for small values of theta. So you can ask again one more assumption. This AC is much large compared to actually what this numerator. This denominator is much large compared to numerator. So this term within bracket will be much less compared to 1, or approximately it will be approximately equal to 0 or very small value, right? For very small values, actually what tan inverse of uh, that value, right, that will be, or for small values tan theta will be approximately equal to actually what, theta, right? For very small, so one more assumption we are going to apply here. For small values, right, tan inverse of something, right, will be equal to that itself, right? So we can further rewrite it as, right, we can further rewrite it, this tan inverse again, right, won't be there. So this theta of t can be approximated as phi of t plus r of t by AC times this sine psi of t minus phi of t, right? So why we can make these assumptions, why, how can we rewrite it like this? It's based on the assumption carrier power or carrier magnitude is much large compared to noise magnitude, right? Then only we'll be able to write it. So this is our theta of t. This is what is being fed to our discriminator, right? This is what is being fed to our discriminator. This is our theta of t. So this part was the most complicated part in this noise analysis in FM receiver, right? Once you are okay with this, then remaining part it's going to be easy, right? So now if you are give this theta of t to, right, this theta of t, if you are giving it to like a discriminator, this theta of t, if you are giving to a discriminator, what you will get is 1 by 2 pi d by dt of theta of t, right? This is what you will get, right? This phi of t, we know it is in turn actually what, 2 pi kf integral 0 to t m of tau d tau, right? This is our phi of t, right? So if you differentiate, we can differentiate it. Maybe I think we'll stop today's session here, right? We'll stop today's session here, and we'll continue with this in next class. But when you come for the next class, right, I request everyone to be clear with this, right? If you have any doubt now, you can ask, right? So we'll stop the session here, and so till this, is it clear? Right, if at least 20% of the class is able to follow it along with the class, others maybe what, depending upon your interest, you may have to actually what, um, once again go through this. But right, is it till here, is it okay whatever we have done? Right, should maybe okay, yeah. So fine, if you have any doubt, you can ask. And should I ask anyone to show your notes? Right, maybe I should make it a practice, or else, right, I can make it as an assignment also. Right, click and send. But okay, maybe I don't want to what. All of you have taken, I believe all of you have taken it down. Right, so if you don't have any doubt, you can leave. Right, so thank you so much for joining. Right, we'll continue with this in the next session. Right, thank you so much for joining.